Hi everybody, this is our second meeting. Today is November 15th and I'm recording it alone because during our meeting I forgot to start the meeting record. Okay, let's start again. Sorry for my fault. And as just before starting, I would like just to remember something. I told you the first screen when we open Spider is the project and documents window. This splash screen means or shows us that every project must be classified and under a structure because we are working on the best practice ways. If you have a project, it must have a reason, a meaning, a function, or a goal. And as I told you, not only Spider has this kind of understanding. Also, Primavera has this splash screen when you can, before opening a project or creating a project, you must understand where it will be placed in a structure, enterprise, portfolios, company, region, district, and you classify in a structure where this project must be placed, in which part of structure it belongs. Just saying that, let's start for intention here. The second meeting is to talk about the settings. These settings are not an obligation, but they are making some information more comfortable or more interesting for the user. If you do not change this information, the results, your project's results will be as good and as precise as ever. But if you do not do this kind of settings in Microsoft projects, probably you will have problems, damage to your project's results. Although we have a lot of items, 5 of them won't be commented here because they are not important and our base costs do not cover it. Before, I'd like to talk about functionality. Functionality means that Spider does not only talks and manage projects as a simple amount of data, durations, costs, and calculation. It also provides investment analysis, earned value analysis, according to earned value methods, risk analysis, and it is also interesting when you talk about BIM, building information modeling. Investment analysis is something that you should do before accepting a contract or starting and decide to start a new project, a new change to make some improvements. And Spider has this feature. You may calculate, you may analyze your investments like cost, investments, return, payback time, without having to find another software or to attach it to another software with data. Usually you lose data when you use 2 or more softwares to do it. EVM, earned value, is an old way of controlling and monitoring projects. It's done graphically and data tables inside Spider without asking any other help. Risk analysis for Monte Carlo or for tree curves, LibreZone tree curves is also supported by Spyder without asking for helps, outsiders. And BIM, business interface model, is a build interface modeling is not just showing a 3D graphic picture or a rotating 3D graphic picture. It's much more. It combines the information BIM files have with Spyder and deal and change information between them. Everything inside the portfolio, but in this basic course we are not going to talk about this. We're going just to see projects and its setting for better showing and understand your data. Opening Spyder here. Where is it? Spyder. Opening Spyder here. When you create a project file, create a project, not creating a document or a portfolio. When you create a project, the first thing that appears to you is not the projects, the Gantt diagram or any histogram. The first thing is what were you talking about? Which projects do you want to create? So properties means information about your new projects. General, additional, portfolio, and common risks are tabs, but we're just talking about general and additional. General, name. The name, the easy name you recognize your projects. My first project. Codes you must have an ID, a unique identification, for your system. I mean, my company, followed by the stage, in which phase is my project. Initial phase, study phase, in 4 steps. My approved stage, or we are running it, or we closed it. The way you classify, the way you keep your identification codes is a question of your procedures, internal procedures. Okay, your sector, your department, your level 2 definition. Finally, probably, your unique number project ID. Of course, the version is in which stage I am under the construction, under the execution phase we are. Storage, where is it storage? My projects. I have to save it. I must save it somewhere. Okay? I will store it in some part of my structure of project, my portfolio structure. Start date today, and target date is I intend to finish. We mean to have it done by double click by February 5th. Calendar. As I told you in our live, the calendar is a restriction, a constraint. We should plan with 4 days, 4 hours a day, 7 days a week calendar, because the work is not forbid to happen all the time. But according to the reality, according to the rules of our company, you may start our planning, we may register our properties with a constraint very well defined, a calendar, commercial defined calendar or a different specific calendar. The contractor or the company oblige us. Baseline version, we'll talk about it later. Date format means that you just want to see date, day, month, and year, or you want to see every second of your start and finish activities parameters. Decimal digits mean after the comma you see no decimal parts, no decimal information, or at up to 9 decimal digits, because Spider has a very strong way of keeping data. It's not simple variables from 1 to 200, for 1 to 1,000,000. It's a very large range of data information. Activity is critical if its floats not greater than. By definition, by default, critical activity has 0 floats, as it is preset here. But imagine if you have very long activities duration, you may say, I consider critical with 5 days, 8 hours a day in a commercial calendar, or 24 hours a day. Okay, 5 days, 40 hours. I will consider the activity critical, because 40 hours in a long duration activity is almost nothing. 200 days, I consider that it is critical if I have just 5 days as a float. But anyway, let's keep it as default. And general is a place where I define my main information about projects. Logbook depth. Logbook depth means how deep I can search the changes people made in my file. How deep I can understand the changes and who has made it, and in which machine was made it, and when it was made in my file, by myself or by my colleagues. Let's have a quick example. A dozen change, 10,000 change, just last 100 change. Okay, I will keep my logbook with 10,000, and I will give you a quick example here. Let's just, okay, the project was created according to my properties. Project properties, here, my information, my definitions. And I told you logbook depth. Okay, I'll keep my project on the right side, and I will look for in the modes environment information about my project. My project has a lot of information. And other layout, no, okay, logbook. I will open logbook and keep side by side with my projects. Window, my project on the right side, log information on the left side. Logbook is where I book my logs, when I keep my registers, change logs to be traceable, to make my project traceable. Okay, activity 1. I do not like this name. I prefer grounding. I don't know what's ground mean, but I prefer that my first activity is grounding, okay? Today, somebody made a change name activity grounds from activity 1 to, okay, somebody changed the name activity 1 to grounding. Okay, grounding with a G in capital letters. G in capital letters. Okay, there is another information registered. Time. Show column. Sorry. Time. Properties. I want to see it not by the full date only, but 2 seconds. Here. First thing, somebody changed activity into grounding. Then, seconds after, and then, seconds after, somebody changed the format date time I had into seconds. Everything you do in your project will be registered for future analysis. Of course, you cannot undo what you did. I cannot just revert to this instance. It's not possible yet, but I think it was easy to you understand what means undo. Project not open but properties, and additional undo, not undo. The logbook depth is now, I think, better understood. Activity fields, okay. Every new activity will have 5 days. It's a common, just because every activity must start with estimated duration. Okay, 5 days is here, may keep it. Use chat on file means that you will be able, if you use web server, you will be able to chat with your partners or with your colleagues or with your contractors, because they might write something in the chat of each activity to send a message to the planner, to the scheduler, or to the system. It's a way, using web server, it's a way to make a easy communication, adjusting with each other. General, additional, I think you have finished with the main information and main registers we must have. We won't talk about portfolio or common risk. Risks are common and found for every project, and here we have some adjusts, but we may analyze risks for each project, besides the common risk that will be adjusted here. Okay, general, additional, we created a project that has this information. We may open a project, a specific project, see its properties. Okay, properties. You may open a project. The first image we have is Gantt diagram modes, activity Gantt table, and some graphical information here. Activity Gantt diagram here. It's very familiar to everybody. There are lots of different modes. I expect we'll talk about some of them in the future, but right click, open, properties, show file in folder. Open, show file, open, and you can see your project here. Project and document window, and you see it here inside your structure. In my case, Ghana 2025. In my classroom folder from my complete Dropbox address. But this is the proper way to manage my project file. But there is also the Microsoft project way. Show file in the folder. You open Explorer and you will see your folder. Let me do it again. Show file in the folder. Incredible. That's fantastic, but I'm not showing or not looking into my folder file. Open, okay. Show file in the folder. It should open my file folders. My files folder is here. Here. It should open at this folder. I don't know why Windows 11 is not working as should be, but you may understand. You probably understood what I would like to say. Show file, save as. Okay, I will open my project, my file projects. I will say save as. Save as means that I have the same codes, probably the same name, and the same structure folder, but with another version, probably version 2, because I made some important changes. That is what I've done, and I've registered it. Of course, before this, I have description, objective, importance, info. Okay. If I close just to make it things clean. Okay, I'll open my projects, or I will projects open Acme 3, okay, example, version 1. John. Version 2, description, objective, and I made some important change. Version 2, okay, the same projects from this structure folder, classification, has 2 versions. Of course, I'll just see the first version, but I work on version 2. I think the document and project window, it's very helpful. I think it's very important to keep it well organized. Open. Open. Version 2. Okay, that's my remember, when I open a project, the right side of my main screen allows me to access a lot of ways of seeing the same complete data from my projects in different modes, in different layouts, in different ways, with different focus. Focus on costs, in resource usage, logbooks, the information of changes I had. Open, properties, show file and folder if it works, save as a different, save without cost because you may want to share your schedule with somebody, but you don't want him to say costs. Costs is a variable from data, project's data. Save without resource, save without costs, save without material. There is not these options here, but I think they understood that save without costs is something interesting for somebody. You may export this project for people who have MS projects, for people who have Primavera, or for people who have any kind of project management software that could change information. Create standard, we won't talk about this. Send notification. As we know, people work with us in these projects. We are a team, and other partners and collaborators work with us. And they must be notified, send notification. They must be notified if they are going to start next week. If they will have to be present there next month. If they have to inform you something next week. So if you have all the users registered here, you may send notifications to them. If you don't have, of course, nobody will receive a notification. Close, file, create, open from storage, open from file. From storage, place well documented, the well structured place, open from file. There's a file. Somewhere in my HD must there are file. File means SPRJ. The suffix is SPRJ. Nobody here? In Dropbox. My Dropbox. Okay. Some few files. Somewhere in my Explorer window. It's not structured. It's not well divided, classified, but I may open a file like any other file in Windows. I have ordered this here, this one. All my data is in Dropbox. Okay. I open my file from Windows Explorer window. If I save as, there is codes, there is info, but I cannot find it in the structure because I have opened it from a file in a window, in an unknown place. How could I save it to the proper place? Of course, I won't be able to do that. If I had opened it by my projects, demo or by LSM, and I find this file, I could do it. But it is not open. It was not opened by project and document windows. It was opened by somewhere. Of course, I can see everything, and I could look for my logbook. My logbook is logbook from these open projects. And let's see, March 2020. Please note, hundreds changes, projects, properties, additional 1000. So in this file, I had just 100 different changes. The last one, March the 7th, March the 7th, 17 to 18. With an hour, almost an hour of working on this file, I made 100 changes. Altered, I changed the properties of costs. I made some columns, fields being shown. I reduced values from to. I've made a lot of changes in just 1 hour. It is registered, but as I told you, when I save as, I cannot save as because I don't know from where it comes from, in which part of the X structure is my original file. That's why it's so important to have it well distributed, classified, and saved. Okay, as I told you, Dropbox will be our common folder. If you map your folder in your machine according to the invitation I've sent you, it is possible to see your files, and you will see the projects of your colleagues in this course. We have talked about that, and we have finished the difference when we just record what we have to say alone is that we have much more continuity. I promote interruptions to ask your feedback, ideas, and your experience. So sometimes half an hour becomes more than an hour. See you next meeting on Friday.